Welcome back to Your Career Podcast. If you ever feel stuck in your career or you need a little clarity in order to manage your career moving forward, or you're looking for a new job, visit janejacksoncoach.com. I've plenty of free downloads for you and a lot of career management support that will help to set you well on your way.
Welcome to Jane Jackson Careers, a podcast that takes your career to the next level. Here's your host, Jane Jackson, author of Amazon Careers bestseller, Navigating Career Crossroads.
I'm delighted to introduce to you Abbie White, who's the founder of Sales Redefined this week. She is ridiculously passionate about empowering businesses to authentically increase their sales and get results. She works with small businesses to Australia's leading corporates such as Telstra. Now, Abbie's mission is to break down the barriers to sales by ditching outdated, cliché salesy tactics and applying highly practical, proven sales strategies. Her energetic approach is hands-on and results-oriented to achieve quick results for her clients. Abbie has more than a decade's experience in sales and sales management with a strong, proven record of success. And she's a lovely lady too. Prior to founding Sales Redefined, Abbie was the national sales manager at IBM and managed a $100 million portfolio, taking the Australia-New Zealand region from the lowest to highest performing region globally. And on a personal level, I was lucky to catch Abbie before she gave birth to her first baby, and now she is a true mum entrepreneur. Let's meet the wonderful Abbie White.
Hello, thank you for having me. Good morning.
Well, I've been looking forward to having you on the show, and I needed to get you on because I know that very soon you're going to be having your first baby.
I am indeed. Only a few weeks to go now.
I know, so I'm glad I've got you before you're going to have many, many sleepless nights. So before we talk about the joys of motherhood and everything else, how about just to kick us off, because this podcast is all about careers and changing careers and transitioning into entrepreneurship. Tell us a little bit about you and your early days and what were your early career aspirations?
Absolutely. So my early career aspirations were nothing like what they ended up being. When I was younger, I wanted to go into marketing. My dad worked at an advertising agency, so I was adamant that, marketing was absolutely what I wanted to get into. And I was supposed to be doing a marketing placement actually through university as part of my degree. And at the last minute, it all fell through. And by accident, I ended up at IBM and went down a sales path. So that was never intended. It was never planned. It was very much an accident. But that's ended up shaping the rest of my career. So my career has then been sales management. And then after 8 years in corporate with IBM, doing those sorts of roles between the UK and Australia, I then went on to have my own businesses, again, sales focused. So it's been very much sales orientated from start to finish, which was absolutely an accident and never intended.
So you had a long career with IBM. That sounds interesting. And transitioning from Australia to the UK and then back again and still with IBM?
Yeah, so I was quite lucky. IBM were doing a global relocation program. So I saw all different countries on the list. There was China and Russia. And suddenly I saw Australia and went, wow, beaches, sunshine, that sounds great. And I was looking for my next career step because I wanted to move into management. And there was a national sales manager role going. So I got myself on a plane, got to Australia, set up some interviews for myself, and came over to Australia to do the national sales manager role. So in total, I was at IBM about 8 years.
Oh, how exciting. So how did you feel moving from one country to another? Was that transition difficult, or was it just so exciting that you couldn't wait to get started?
I think it was exciting because you've got the novelty factor of thinking, awesome, I'm moving to Australia to all the lovely beaches and, this is going to be great. So there's that naivety and novelty. I think I was also very lucky because as a kid, I moved around a lot. I lived in Switzerland, I lived in America through my dad's job. So I think moving overseas was something I'd experienced a lot and therefore was less daunting. I also probably had a bit of a safety blanket because I was still part of IBM. And therefore, if for whatever reason Australia didn't work out, my job in the UK was, on hold for me and I could go back. So really for me, push came to shove. I just thought, well, what's the worst that can happen? I can go to Australia. I might not like it. The job might not go well, but my job in the UK will still be there for me. So I very much had a safety net. Me and my 2 suitcases by myself, single person at the time, got on a plane and off I went.
So exciting to make that change. Actually, you're right. Having that little bit of a security blanket as well would have made a huge difference. And then so many people in the UK just hanker for the sunshine and the beaches. And what better place to come than Sydney, where it's so lovely. And so once you got here and you settled in and obviously enjoyed your national sales manager role, so you were on a bit of a career trajectory. Join the dots for me here. So how did national sales management role, IBM, big iconic company, and then Abbie White transitioning into entrepreneurship? What happened? What was the trigger?
Yeah, so I'd done corporate for sort of 8 years, and I very much had intended my career to be, I wanted to be that 25-year IBMer who got up to vice president level, and everyone laughed. I was blue-blooded, cut me open and I was blue. And I just started to fall a little bit out of love with corporate. I had been very, very driven and constantly punching above my weight to the next role and the next role and the next role. I'd constantly gone for jobs that I was the least qualified person in the room to go for, but sort of bulldozed my way and talked my way into it. And I think I then just started, as I got higher up the ladder, I started to fall out of love with it because I felt I was seeing more of what went on behind the scenes. Some of the decisions that were being made weren't necessarily, what I would have supported. The business, IBM, started to be in a difficult position in the brands that I was in. We'd taken the business, I took on the business as the lowest performing in the world for that particular brand, and got it to highest performing in the world, which was epic and amazing. And I think I then felt I'd ticked that box and had just fallen out of love. So I had a friend of mine who had his own business, and he'd approached me about bringing that business over to Australia and starting it afresh as a startup in Australia. And I think it was just the right time. I ticked all my goals. By 30, I wanted to be a national sales manager. I wanted, all these particular things. I ticked them all and then kind of felt almost empty around what's next. So I think it was timing really of the business dynamics changing. So it wasn't as enjoyable a place to be. Feeling I'd done it, and someone approaching me at the right time to say, hey, why don't we go into partnership and start something else? So again, coming back to safety net, I wasn't jumping out by myself. I was leaving the secure job. I was leaving a very good career trajectory, and I was leaving a great salary for no salary, but I still had a safety net, so to speak, of going into partnership with someone who was highly experienced in entrepreneurship.
How fantastic. And it sounds like, because it sounds like sales is in your DNA as well. And so often sales professionals do like a challenge, and they do tend to get bored. And if there isn't enough of a challenge, you're going to continue to be looking for it. So it sounded like you'd reached that level. Okay, time for a change. And so what was this amazing opportunity that presented itself?
So it's interesting you say, just picking up on the DNA piece, it's interesting you say that. I actually, when I was first approached about going into sales, was like, yuck, no, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a used car salesperson. I was actually almost offended at the thought of being salesy. So I think sales is a skill that you learn. Just picking up on that, I think now I look at it and go, yeah, it's in my DNA, but I wasn't born like this. And, I used to hide making calls for fear of, making a fool of myself. But back to your question in terms of this opportunity, it was to set up a sales consultancy business. So my business partner had the business in New Zealand, and it was very, very successful, all around helping small to medium businesses to grow their sales, particularly to break into export markets. So people who'd outgrown Australia, looking for their next opportunity overseas, and moving to that export market, and us doing the sales consultancy behind that. From an Australian perspective, zero presence, zero business. So we started that together as a partnership from scratch. And I went on to do that for 2 years before then deciding I wanted to, go out on my own and do my own thing.
How exciting. And is that when Sales Redefined was born?
That's when Sales Redefined was born. It was Sales Redefined for me it just became a bit of a passion project. From what I really enjoyed was changing people's perception of sales. Everyone thinks of used car salesmen, sleazy. And one of my favorite things is when you give someone an aha moment and they can start to see a way that they can increase their sales, but while still being authentic, still being true to themselves. Because you then see the breakthrough that they have personally, but professionally in terms of the impact on their business results. So it's a really rewarding place to be able to actually make quite an impact to somebody's business and life.
Sounds like you're helping people to understand what sales really is about, because sales does have that connotation of being a little bit sleazy, or here's my card, call me, that sort of thing. And so what's your focus with Sales Redefined? What's the magic formula that helps people to get that aha moment and start to embrace sales as part and parcel of their business?
Yeah, so I totally agree. People have a very negative connotation of sales, and I did too. I had someone last year on holiday say to me, "Oh, do you rip people off for a living?" And as much as that's slightly harsh, it is the perception. That's the reality. And what I learned through the first business was you could have all these great sales strategies. You could have all these great approaches. You could have the best marketing and material. But if you still perceive that sales is yuck, you're never going to do it. So I realized that actually, and that's where Sales Redefined came about, that actually mindset towards sales was the first step and was the key, because your perception of sales will then absolutely define the outcome of whether you then pick up the phone, make the call, have a conversation. And for me, it's around a reframe of how you're helping people, how you're providing value. Providing you're not selling dodgy used cars, which I'm going to assume no one is, it really is, what are those great outcomes, great results that you achieve for people? How do you help people by working with them? And hey, if you had more sales conversations, imagine how many more people you could impact and how many more lives, therefore, you could change. So actually, by not having that conversation, you're denying someone that opportunity to get that great result. So mindset became part of it. I went and did a diploma in positive psychology. And that just became part of it, because I realized that was the foundation I had to get people's heads across, or heads around even, before I could move on to any of the sales strategies and any of the other activities that we were going to do.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you're right. When it comes to sales, if you've got a great product or if you've got a great service, who are you to deny other people the benefit of it? Yeah, so that's just shifting that thought. And if you think, I was born to help others, or I was born to really make a difference, then you're more on a mission than trying to sell something.
Absolutely. It's taking it away from being sales to being, how are you helping people? How are you providing great results, great outcomes? How are you educating people how your product or service can help them? How are you educating them as to how it helps them better than the competition or anyone else? So it's not about convincing someone to buy something they don't need. It's helping them. And I've had people where I've had this very same conversation have an aha moment, and 24 hours later they're messaging me telling me about people who have signed up and they're working with them and the great results they're getting. And that's just incredible. And that was just a mindset shift. It wasn't any of the fancy sales strategies that you can then get onto, but that's the foundation.
Yeah. It's just having a conversation, isn't it? And people always like to buy from people that they've got to know and they enjoy their company, or else they trust them. I think that's the key, isn't it? It's the trust factor. So, when you talk about, selling something dodgy, everyone's always very suspicious with that. But what's so interesting is that I get approached. So I get so many emails, which are pretty spammy. I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn, and people want to connect. But the minute you connect, it's like, buy my stuff. And I'm thinking, no, it's too soon. It's almost like asking me to get married. And, we haven't even gone through the courting phase just yet. And I think too many people who have got something to sell as such, they try and jump the gun because they get really impatient. Whereas it's all about nurturing that relationship first of all, because why would someone buy right away when they might already know somebody else and they're more familiar with them who might have a similar product, even if yours is better?
Absolutely. And I love that you just use that example, because I always say to people, you wouldn't get married on the first date. And it's exactly the same thing. Statistically, only 3% of your target market are ready to buy now. The rest need to be nurtured. And businesses that do nurture make 50% more sales than those who don't. So absolutely, it's about building a relationship, building that trust, so people do know, like, and trust you and then want to buy. So I'm the same. I get so annoyed when I get messages going, "Hi, buy my stuff." It's really just not a great approach. It doesn't work. And for me, you asked me before about what's the magic for me. I'm all about authentic sales. And I look at it and think we need to build a relationship with people, and sales can take a long time. So it's playing that long-term game. I mentor for a community, and I went to that community and I had this conversation with them, and I asked them, how long did it take you to sign up to be a member of this community? And a couple people said, straight away. First time I came across it, loved it. And we went around the table and kept going. And a couple people said, 3 years. I'd been to a couple of events. I'd followed the community on Instagram or Facebook. And, I'd seen various things about them. But before I made the decision to jump in, it was 3 years. Now, if that business wasn't nurturing those prospects, they would be really limiting their sales opportunity. So it's exactly the same thing. We can't expect people to just meet us and buy and then give up. And that's when most people miss out on great sales opportunities, because they're not nurturing and following up, but in a respectful and authentic way, which then makes you feel comfortable and confident with sales.
Actually, it's quite interesting. It makes me think of this one particular instance where I was approached by this gentleman who needed career coaching. As you know, I'm a career coach, and I thought his name looked a little bit familiar. And when we had our first exploratory conversation, I said, how was it that you found out about me? And he goes, well, 3 years ago, I heard you speak at a Reinvent Your Career Expo. And I went, 3 years ago? So it took your time to call me. He goes, well, I didn't need you then. But I signed up and I've been receiving your newsletters, which I read, over the past 3 years. And now I need you. And so you're the person I called. And so, I mean, that's it. It's if you're regular, and you're absolutely right, because authentic relationships, they're so important. And I recently wrote this article about authentic relationships, because I'm currently on my high horse about authenticity in everything that you do. So we're on the same page here. I guess this is why we're speaking, Abbie. The same values, which is really important. But it's that taking the time to let someone just ruminate a bit and get to know you, and they'll come to you when they're ready. You can't force anyone to buy something that they're not ready for anyway. So now I want to find out more about Sales Redefined. So how does it work? What do you do? What are the services that you offer?
So Sales Redefined predominantly works with small to medium businesses, and we are very much all around helping those businesses to authentically increase their sales. And we're very, very practical. Let's get stuff done. Let's take action, and results driven. And we do that in a couple manners. We do that either through mentoring with business owners, working with sales teams to create high performance sales teams. In that environment, we also have just launched an online course, which I'm really excited about, which brings a new revenue stream to our business. So that's pretty exciting. So predominantly we're in that space. I do work with the team to do a little bit back into the corporate space for my sins, going back to corporate. So we have done some projects with, Telstra and some of the big corporates, but in the whole, it's really around the small to medium business. And like I said, I'm so focused on making sure people can be authentic when they're selling, they can feel comfortable with it, but then we help them to execute. Because it's all well and good having a great idea, it's all well and good having a great strategy, but unless you've got someone working alongside you, almost like a co-pilot, to support you to actually execute and take action, then you don't tend to get the results. So I strongly believe in making sure there's a partnership there, that you're working together on the same page to achieve that outcome.
And you know, you're so generous with all of your knowledge as well, because I know, because I'm a part of your group on Facebook where you help entrepreneurs and you support them with an awful lot of information as well. Do you want to talk about that, Abbie?
Yeah, so that's another accidental project. I've got a few actually. I'm noticing a theme in this interview. It's like therapy.
Yes.
So I started a Facebook group called Entrepreneurs Getting Shit Done. So, you know, the name doesn't appeal to everyone, but with a lot of people it resonates because it is about, you know, stop the talking, let's start doing. And it's very
you know what? It's all about what I like to call GSD, but because getting shit done, I just can't say it too easily. I call it getting stuff done, but yours is a lot more powerful. But it's basically GSD for entrepreneurs, isn't it?
It is. So it started as a bit of an accident where I was looking at building Facebook groups. What could I do with the business? So it was intended to be a business opportunity as part of Sales Redefined, but it became a bit of a passion project. We've now got over 600 people in the group, but it's a tight-knit 600, I would say, in terms of actually I only approve people who I feel fit the bill. And we really support and help each other along the way with challenges. And for me, that's been really, really, really rewarding. It's not revenue generating. It's not a business opportunity for me. It's completely separate to Sales Redefined. Occasionally I might post something about Sales Redefined, but it's very, very rare. And I think it's because you need to be supported along the way. And I include myself in that. You know, we all need that support because it's seriously hard doing the entrepreneurship game. And you have days where you think it's great. You have days where you think it's the worst idea of your life. And so it's creating that community and that environment with support, encouragement, but also sharing knowledge. Everyone's very open in the group and giving around sharing whatever tips it is that's working for them. So it's actually been a really accidental, fantastic thing that's come about that I now really enjoy, and I'm active in it every single day. And it's a way of giving back.
You know, I mean, it's wonderful the way Facebook is structured so that we can have not only business pages, which is all about your business, but also the groups where you build a community and you build a tribe of like-minded people, and being able to offer assistance is fantastic because people can dip in and out as they wish. And if they've got a question, then they've got a community of other people who can also provide advice and guidance too. I love Facebook groups. I think they're fantastic. And I've got a Facebook accountability group for career changes as well, but you're one for entrepreneurs so that they can really get things done, or as you say, get shit done in their business, because we all get stuck at different times. So that's wonderful that you've got it as a passion project. Now you're going to have to tell people where they can find you, Abbie.
So you can find me a couple different ways. So either salesredefined.com.au is the website. You can follow my Facebook page or me personally at Abbie White Sales. Or feel free to join the Facebook group if you're in the entrepreneurship game. So it's Entrepreneurs Getting Shit Done. We had to change the I to an and because Facebook told us off. So that's where sort of the best places are to find me.
Okay, perfect. Now, in my show notes on janejacksoncoach.com, I'll have all of the links for your website, as well as to get you on Instagram and on Facebook as well, because I know you're not into Twitter at the moment, but we got to use what works best for our businesses. So if anyone who's listening wants to get in touch with Abbie, you'll be able to reach Abbie through the show notes, and all the links will be there as well. And I just need to say thank you so much for all of your time. Do you want to leave us with a little wise Abbie White wisdom?
Ooh, the wise Abbie White wisdom I wanted to leave you with, which I thought about earlier around what's been actually part of my career success and helped me, has been always to punch above my weight. So get rid of the imposter syndrome that we all have and park it to one side and go for it. And there's a quote that I actually have on my desk in front of me, which I'll really quickly share, which is, there are people less qualified than you doing the things you want to do simply because they decided to believe in themselves. And I love that. And I think that's been a big part of it, is even though I wasn't ready, I wasn't there yet. And it took a lot of, guts and getting over the imposter syndrome. It's always sort of stood me in good stead to go for that next move, perhaps before I'm ready to do it. So punch above your weight.
Fantastic. And you know, my favorite quote is believe in yourself and create magic, which I believe you have done already. So that's fantastic. And also, now Abbie will be having a baby on, what's the due date?
22nd of September. He is
22nd of September. Oh, my daughter was born on the 21st of September. So there you go. Another Virgo baby, or just on the cusp. Yes. Fantastic.
Just on the cusp.
Yeah, well, I wish you all the best, and I can't wait to hear how motherhood agrees with you. I'm sure it'll be just fantastic because it's a wonderful time of life. I'm way on the other side of the motherhood thing because my kids are now fully grown up, but it's such a wonderful time, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for your time, Abbie. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye. If you enjoyed this podcast, look for Your Career Podcast on iTunes and leave a review. And for all the career management support you need to create your dream career, visit janejacksoncoach.com and join my Careers Academy for live career webinars, group coaching, one-on-one coaching support, as well as my online career development courses. Isn't it time you found your dream job?
You've been listening to Jane Jackson Careers. Sign up to receive regular career advice at janejacksoncoach.com.